Welcome friends to the Breadbox Commodore Computer Show. This show is designed to help you keep up with Commodore. Each month on this show I'll keep you up to date with all things that are Commodore. The format of the show is the following: the Commodore Computer News. So how is Commodore making the news each month? Another section of this monthly show is the Commodore Computer Museum Update. I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. Each show has a short spotlight video or mini documentary about a famous person and their Commodore computer. In this case is Andy Warhol, the famous or iconic pop art artist, producer and director, and his Amiga 1000. And each month we'll be highlighting one new Commodore 64 game, and this month is none other than an absolute classic, Sonic the Hedgehog. Yes, right, Sonic the Hedgehog on the Commodore 64. Mr. Sid, he has done a fantastic job in bringing this game to the Commodore 64. Absolutely masterpiece. We'll have a look at that today as well. There's also the new hardware for the Commodore 64, so we'll be highlighting and using new hardware each month that's designed for either the Commodore 64 or the Amiga, and just checking out how good it is and also where to find it, where to buy it as well. And each month also we have a bit of a recap session of previous videos from the Breadbox, and also other YouTube channels that are Commodore computer related, and what videos are released for that month when the show's on that are worthwhile watching as well. There's obviously many out there, but I just highlight a few. If you watch the show and you think, well, I quite like this show, give it a thumbs up, okay? Because I'll gauge by how many thumbs up I get whether or not the show was a success, and whether or not I should continue with this format once a month. So give me a bit of indication, and we'll see how it goes. Finally, if you do really like this show format, and if you do like this channel, there's always super thanks, or it might be over there actually, super thanks as well if you want to help support this channel as well. So let's get the December show up and running. The A500 Mini update. December the 17th, 2021, Retro Games Limited announced that the A500 Mini, a fully licensed re-imaging of the Amiga 500, has now entered full production and is scheduled to be released on March the 25th, 2022. All 25 carousel games have been announced, and here they are. Some real good ones in there, isn't there? Of course, you can play your own game collection via a USB stick utilizing the WHD load functionality of the A500 Mini. So even if there's games here you don't like, you can still play your favorites on your A500 Mini. You'll also be able to buy the standalone packs of the mouse and the gamepad in selected territories as well. The A500 Mini will be in shops on March the 25th, 2022, with the suggested retail prices of £119.99, €129.99 Euro, US $139.99, Australian $199.99, and I believe New Zealand is $249. Commodore 64 games on the Nintendo Switch? Maybe. December 16th, 2021, Thalmus Digital sent out a tweet on Twitter saying, "You asked for Commodore 64 games on the Nintendo Switch? We listened. Stay tuned. #2022. Die-hard Commodore 64 fans know who Thalmus Digital is. If you aren't sure who they are, does the name Thankson mean anything to you?" Thankson was the first Thalmus game released, I believe, on the Commodore 64. It's the game with that epic Rob Hubbard loading music called Thala Music with a K. When I first heard this loading, it blew my mind. Other Thalmus games include Creatures, Creatures 2, and the very hard game Nobby the Aardvark, and many more. So it looks like from the tweet that Thalmus Digital have put out that these games, potentially, and more, will be heading to the Nintendo Switch in 2022. Will other Commodore 64 games start appearing on the Nintendo Switch from other developers? Will this open up the floodgates to other Commodore 64 games to appear on that system? Well, we'll just have to wait and see what 2022 brings us. What do you think about Thalamus Digital's decision to put Commodore 64 games on the Nintendo Switch? Do you think it's a good idea or a bad one? Comment below, let us know what you think. The C64 has an update coming any day now from Retro Games Limited, so watch out for that firmware update on the website. The link is in the description below, and hopefully it's full of lots of goodies. There's some interesting things happening right now in the world of Commodore, isn't there? Next is the Commodore Computer Museum update. A quick word about the sponsors of this month's video, PCBWay. I personally use PCBWay for my custom PCB projects and also for my large format 3D printing. They're very quick, they're well priced, and I recommend them for your next project. They do more than just PCBs and also 3D printing. They also do CNC machining, steel metal fabrication, and injection molding. Go to PCBWay.com, enter the details of your project, and get things started today. So currently my Commodore computer room is 2.3 meters by 3 meters. It's compact, I love it, it's fantastic. It's not really practical to invite visitors to come and check it out and also to try out different machines because mostly they're on display, and but I want to have a working, living Commodore Computer Museum here in New Zealand, and this is where you might be able to help. New Zealand used to have a Commodore Computer Museum run by Alan Gilchrist from 1995 to about 2011 before he passed away, and I want to replace that museum with a 10 meter by 7 meter purpose-built museum here in New Zealand. So next month I'll be running a Kickstarter campaign to raise the funds to build the Commodore Computer Museum New Zealand. It will be the location for preserving the history of Commodore computers here in New Zealand, with history from around New Zealand but also around the world as well, preserved between the walls of the Commodore Computer Museum. But it's going to be more than just a museum, it's going to be a living, working location where visitors will be able to try out different machines, but also there will be an extensive library, which I have already in boxes, of Commodore Computer magazines and books that will be available to be read as well. Admission will be free, of course, and guided tours will be available as well, all booked on the very extensive website that I plan on building as well. More of that in a second. The museum will also be the new location for making my Commodore computer videos, and there'll be a studio within the museum. Now I'm really excited about this project, it's going to be absolutely awesome. But if you live in the UK, the USA, why would you want to back a museum here in New Zealand? I'll be giving an exclusive tour throughout the museum once it's finished to all the Kickstarter backers, and that'll be via a link and it'll be exclusively for those backers. But also part of that Kickstarter campaign is to build the world's most extensive Commodore computer website, basically being the one-stop location for everything Commodore computers, so everyone worldwide will be able to benefit from that. It's going to be very extensive, very thorough and very polished looking. I also have been arranging really awesome rewards for the backers on the Kickstarter campaign. So I'll update you on this channel when the Kickstarter campaign will be starting. Hopefully you'll get behind it as well and support this awesome campaign. Next on the show is a spotlight video about Andy Warhol, the famous pop art artist, and his Amiga 1000. Hope you enjoy. Andy Warhol was an influential artist, film director and producer born in 1928. You probably know the name. You certainly would be aware of his pop art like the 1968 Campbell's Soup or the Marilyn Monroe artworks. They're truly iconic, aren't they? His originals sell for millions. 8 Elvises, for example, in 1963 sold for $100 million in 2008. The 4 Marilyns, the 1964 piece, sold for $69.6 million in 2014. Andy also used the Amiga computer to create art. Andy got his Amiga in 1985 and he became instantly a brand ambassador for Amiga. In front of a live audience at the Lincoln Center, Andy used the software ProPaint. Try to find that piece of software today. I'll be very surprised. I don't believe it was ever released. To create a portrait of the rock legend Debbie Harry from Blondie.
You found it to be very spontaneous here.
Yeah, it's great. It's such a great thing.
What more can you say?
He was famously asked at the event, what other computers did he work on before the Amiga? And he replied,
What computers have you worked on before?
Oh, I've worked on anything. I waited for this one.
Really?
At the time, the Amiga was groundbreaking in its technology, and Andy showed this by pioneering the digital artwork industry. Andy's artwork made on the Amiga was lost. If you want to find out how that artwork was found on 2 floppy disks in 2014, there's a link in the video description about how those disks were found and how they were able to retrieve those images from those disks. May this year, 2021, Christie's, the famous auction house, sold NFTs of Andy's Amiga artwork. NFTs mean it's been minted. These artworks would be sold as one of a kind. No others would be minted or made available for sale. The artwork that was sold at this auction in May 2021 was Andy's Amiga drawn Campbell soup, the Warhol flower, and the banana on a blue background. How much did these Amiga artworks sell for? In May 2021, they sold for $3,377,500. The self-portrait of Andy alone sold for $870,000. Andy Warhol was the pioneer of pop artwork, but he was also the pioneer of digital artwork thanks to the groundbreaking technology found in Amiga. When I found out that Sonic the Hedgehog had been brought to the Commodore 64, I was amazed. Mr. Sid, he's done a fantastic job importing this iconic game and an iconic character to the Commodore 64. Let's have a look at the game right now. The classic Sega game Sonic the Hedgehog is now available on the Commodore 64. Originally developed by Sega in 1991 for their Sega Genesis machine to compete against the Nintendo's Mario mascot. Have you ever played the C64 Mario? That's actually a brilliant fan-made game. And just like this one, Mr. Sid has made Sonic for the Commodore 64. Now it does need a RAM expansion unit to play on a genuine Commodore 64, but if you're playing it on the C64, the REU flags have already been added to the file names. The reason why it needs a RAM expansion unit is to retain its signature fast speed of the original game. Let's check it out and see how it plays. So what new hardware can you buy for your Commodore 64 today in 2021? Let's have a look. I'll put a link in the description below to the website. Backbit sent me a harness kit for diagnosing faults on the Commodore 64. I'll give you a better image of this in a second of all the parts that EV sent me. This harness that EV sent me is definitely the best I've used for repairing, diagnosing, doing diagnostic work on the Commodore 64. It's absolutely fantastic. Everything is being cased with ABS 3D printed casing. This makes it more polished, even with logos on them. There's no messy wires that get all tangled up. And I have been, since I've got this over the last few months, been using EV's diagnostic harness for the last few months, and I'll never go to anything else. This is absolutely fantastic. Oh, just a quick one about this one here. This is the cassette port loopback, and this little 3.5mm connection plugs into here. And great thing is, this is fantastic, because if you use normal diagnostic, if you use normal harness kits for the on the Commodore 64, the cables are often quite tight, and or you can't use the cables if you've got the bottom case still connected to the motherboard or the main board. So this is fantastic. This is a really good idea. So this plugs into the joystick port adapter. It's all part of the overall connection for the harness, coupled with the back bit cartridge. I used to use this. Great device, absolutely fantastic, but obviously by itself it is limited. With this, the back bit cartridge, it does more than just what I'm talking about right now, but with the harness, absolutely fantastic for doing diagnostic work on the Commodore 64. So I really recommend this product. Like I mentioned, I've been using it for the last few months to fix different Commodore 64s. I didn't go onto YouTube straight away and say, hey, look, definitely buy this, it's a great product. I wanted to make sure it was a good product before I said anything, and it definitely is. Evie's done a fantastic job. And again, another 3D printed case just makes everything a lot more tidy. And oh, that's interesting, there's a 3.5mm plug here as well, but I might talk about that and what plugs into that in another video, but also I'll show you it all working in an upcoming video as well. The next segment on the show is just a recap of an old Breadbox video that I've already done, and just in case you missed it the first time round, just gives you an opportunity to check out old material that I produced as well. Today is looking at the Fitbit of the 1980s, the RetroPie of the 1980s, Commodore 64 and the Puma computer shoes. Now the Commodore 64 was really the Raspberry Pi of the 1980s, wasn't it? It was so versatile, you could do almost anything with it. Did you know in the 1980s there was computer shoes that you could plug into your Commodore 64? They were a little bit like the Fitbits of the 1980s, plug it into the RetroPie of the 1980s. I made a video about this, computer shoes for the Commodore 64. There's a link in the description below if you want to learn more about this amazing machine and the computer shoes that plugged into them. So finally, what other videos are out there in the month of December 2021 that are Commodore related, that are really good or worthwhile watching? Here's a little sample of what I found on YouTube today. In each month's program, I'll highlight some other channels on YouTube with Commodore content that's been uploaded during the month that's worth watching as well. This month, check out this nice video from Arctic Retro as he makes his own Impossible Mission cartridge, and it looks like he's uploading daily videos this month as well, which I've done before. It's not easy, so check out Arctic Retro. The link is in the description below. A mint Commodore 64 that was found in an estate sale by CVCC Toys, Games and Music Shop. Check out this unboxing of this Commodore 64 in a short video that is well worth watching. Old Style Gaming always produces top-notch content, and in this video this month he explores the best 100 games ever made for the Commodore 64. And finally, an interesting video from Noel's Retro Lab. Checks out a very cheap Amiga accelerator to see if it's any good. Thanks for watching the first show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you're giving that thumbs up, and we'll see how we go for next month. Again, if you do support it, if you do like it, hey, I'll keep on doing it forever, once a month. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for your continued support. See you later, friends.